Hello, 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 everybody. This is Irina Strunina, and this is our weekly podcast, Diabetically Speaking with Smart Move 360. This is the place where we meet every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and I invite different healthcare and wellness experts to talk with me and with you about life with diabetes, our show called Diabetically Speaking. So, we want to talk about different aspects of life, but how it relates to diabetes, what we can expect, what we should not be surprised by, and what we should be aware of. So, every last one more thing I wanted to remind you that every last Thursday of the month I invite people who have this diagnosis. They're not necessarily healthcare experts. They are just a lot of them just the regular people who have this diagnosis and who are brave enough to get with me on a call and share their story. I know this is not easy to talk about it, so I am grateful for those brave souls who decided to share their story with the world. And if you found our show and you want to hear those stories, look at the playlist. It's called Warriors, Diabetically Speaking, with Smart Move 360 Warrior Edition. There will be this selection, only these recordings. You don't have to search through the big list that we have. We have over 100 videos already, so it's kind of simplified way to find those recordings and share it. Share it with people who may hear those stories because the diabetes, I always tell about this, diabetes is a team sport, and it's always good to know that you are not alone. There are other people who understand you, who experienced your challenges, and I would like everyone to remember about it. Spreading the information, sharing with people is actually also very helpful and very caring. But today we are meeting with the expert. We met with Bob recently and had the initial conversation. And as we were talking, I was like, Bob, we need to do the podcast with you because everything you are saying is very, very important to know everyone. And people who've been recently faced with this diagnosis of diabetes uh, definitely will benefit to have this extra piece of information that very often their primary care physician probably will not have even time to discuss. And a lot of them probably will not even know what we're talking about. So, Bob, welcome to the show. I'm happy that you had time and interest to meet with me here. Please tell us about yourself, what you are doing, why you are doing this, and we'll go from there.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'd love to get the word of great health out to people. So if I'm reaching people out there, I'm talking to them about natural health, great health. I'm a happy person. So 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 thanks for having me. Number one, and number two. So my name's Dr. Bob McCauley. I'm a naturopathic doctor, a natural doctor, not an MD. I don't know anything about medicine or medications or all that kind of stuff. That's for the medical people. And medicine is, I've always say, medicine is in one direction and health is in the other. So I want to try to help you understand you understand, your audience understand what they can do to be healthy in a simple way. And I try to keep it simple, not get too complicated. You usually go into the medical office, you go into the doctor's office, they look at you, they do, and then they give you some pills. You think, okay, these pills are gonna do something for me. That's gonna change my heart, it's gonna change if I get some kind of a disease, it's gonna help me with that. And then you take your little pills home and you hope it's gonna do something for you. So you want your little pills and that kind of stuff. That's great. But I just want to tell you maybe some lifestyle changes you can put in there somewhere. and get yourself kind of back to health. So, I started out 35 years ago, and I started out in my basement, and I started out in the bottled water business. That's how I got going, and that was my goal. I really didn't know a lot about natural health. I was kind of already a health fanatic, but to some degree, but not like I am now. Now I'm a complete health fanatic nut. That's all I want to do is be healthy, and I love sharing that with the world. So through the years, I got I'll make this part short. I got into the bottled water business. I started getting into supermarkets, pharmacies, a lot of pharmacies back then. Again, this is the 90s. They were real common. Walgreens didn't exist. Rite Aid didn't exist. No, not that I ever saw. There was like independent little pharmacies. I got into them. I got into a hospital called Sparrow Hospital here in Lansing, and I was selling bottled water. And then I got into Target. Okay, so that was my biggest account, and I mean, I was selling like crazy. But what I could understand is that people, they or these companies and these big, places like Target, the supermarkets, the grocery stores, they were going to control my business. So I got myself a bottled water store, and I started selling bottled water by the gallon. So I was still delivering water, but that's when people started coming in and talking to me about health because what they realized was what you don't have bottled water, that's a health product. Wow,
Mhm.
that's amazing. And most people didn't understand that. I mean, there was like no bottled water it hadn't been invented yet. There was Evian they were out there. There was
Mhm.
something called Naya water that was from Canada. I mean, Coca-Cola destroyed that business by taking over the distribution and then dumped them for their own brand. And that's what they do. So I got into this, and people kept coming in and talking to me about health, and introducing me to things that I never heard before. One of the first one I heard, of course, I guess was alkaline ionized water, which I would highly recommend everybody, drink alkaline ionized water. I've actually got some here. Let's not get too complicated. That's got putting some hydrogen in it.
Uh-huh.
But I drink a lot of water. So far, where I am, it's 11 a.m. I still haven't had breakfast because I don't do breakfast.
Mhm.
I don't eat until noon, 1 o'clock.
Mhm.
And that gives your body a chance to kind of, cleanse itself. And, you're doing this little mini fast. So I haven't eaten since last night, 7 o'clock, 6:30, and now I'm going to be on a fast that will last, you know 15 hours, 18 hours, somewhere in there, and then I'll eat again around noon. So that's what I do. I recommend that for everybody, whether you got diabetes, you don't have diabetes. um, but that's my first thing I would say. Alkaline ionized water is water that I wrote. I don't know if you can see all my books, but these are all the books I've written on health, natural health. I have a 7 component health protocol that I go through. The first one is water, and I want everybody to drink not only a lot of water, stay away from purified water. Okay, that's reverse osmosis or distilled water. So keep that, stay away from that because that's the opposite of ionized water. So you don't want to put that in your body. That's going to remove minerals from your body. It's going to turn your body acidic. It's not going to hydrate your body well at all. Ionized water is exactly the opposite of that. So you got a disease. I don't care what the disease is. Diabetes. There's a lot worse diseases than diabetes. And with some simple lifestyle changes, you really will be able to make some, like, some profound changes in your health.
Mhm.
We always talk about A1C, that's measuring your blood sugar. Okay. I would do that all the time. I used to get into doing that for a while. It's become more sophisticated. This is 20 years ago. And I would pick myself, I'd put a little pinprick and I'd measure my blood sugar. And, I was doing it throughout the day. It was just something I got into do. I never had diabetes. I never had that problem. But now they got more sophisticated things. You don't have to pick your blood unless if
Yes.
you want to, you can. But
AGMs. Yeah.
yeah, you can always see what's going on with these, devices 24/7. And keep an eye on that. That's the A1C because that is going to tell you where your blood sugar is, and
Mm-hmm.
that's really important. If it gets over 100, you got to start watching it. If it gets over 120, you're really getting, you're really getting worried about it. You get over 200, now you got a problem. I've seen people with 400, 500
Yes.
blood sugar,
Yes.
and it is just you're out of control. So I tell you what to do to avoid that. Okay. So, and I'll tell you a little bit about my not only what I do, my diet. What that's the main thing. So I'll make another long story short. I became through the years, people say, "What are your credentials? How can you talk like this about these diseases?" I said, me, my own credentials. They want people were looking for something. So I became a certified nutrition consultant. But people loved it. They were like, "Yeah, okay, now I'm talking to somebody, an authority of something." Because I don't have a lab coat.
And
I could
yes.
wear a lab coat with a stethoscope and then I'd look official,
Uh-huh.
but I don't, I actually have one in my closet and I take it out and I do videos with it just to prank on people. But, um, you know, so um, I became certified nutrition consultant, and then I started going to some other classes about health. And I looked at some, and this guy had MH. I became, what's that, Master Herbalist. So I became a Master Herbalist. It took years to do this, years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I became a naturopathic doctor. After that, I kind of heard somebody on, he says, "I'm Doctor So and so," and they said, "Well, what is that?" So I said, "Well, I want that name, Doctor." Now, so it took me about 7.5, almost 8 years to become all three of those, have those titles. My naturopathic degree is right there. Right in the,
Yes.
so, I want to say I've read literally 100 books on health, 200 books, I don't know. I've watched thousands of videos about health, different people giving me different. Some of them I disagree with, some of them I like, and I bring it into my. But most of what I know about health is from experience, just doing it myself,
Mm-hmm.
waking up every day, having a big tall glass of water. I just did a video on water. Um, and people get up in the morning, they don't drink water and sometimes they just go for the coffee, which is not good, not in the morning, And we could talk about, coffee, whether it's good or not, but you want water, okay? They just sit down, start eating. You don't want to do that in the morning. Hydrate your body. Hydrate
Mm-hmm.
your body. Um, hydrate your body all the time. I always say, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
HAD, hydrate your body, alkalize your body, detoxify your body. Get the things. What is a toxin? A toxin is something that doesn't belong in the body, and you want to get that out of the body. Okay, that's what disease lives on. All right. So we go back to the A1C. That's your sugar level. So as you begin to get the things out of the body that don't belong in the body, which we refer to as toxins, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Anything that is not performing a function inside the human body should leave, should get out because it's in the way. It's like you're trying to run a business or something, and then people are coming in and they're hanging out and they're talking to your employees and do you work here? No, I'm just here. You're getting in the way. You're a
Mm-hmm.
toxin for my business. Well, this is what's going on inside the human body. You're getting things that don't belong there to begin with. They're inside the body. And they're very, some toxins are very mild. They don't bother you. Some are serious, heavy metals, herbicides, pesticides. We talk about plastics a lot these days, getting
Yes.
into our food supply. There's all sorts of things, but so everything I do, I try to detox my body. Okay, I try to get those things out of there so that my body's functioning at a cellular level.
Mm-hmm.
Cellular health equals human health. If your cells are healthy, you'll be healthy. If your cells are not healthy, you can't be healthy. You can't do it. So it comes down to that fundamental thing. So you've got to feed the body, the cells of the body, feed them the right things. And again, I'm going to tell you 1,000 times, start off with a big tall glass of water. I got alkaline ionized water in here, and then I put some extra hydrogen in it. That's another story. But that's what I'm doing all day. That's what I do literally when I'm traveling. I take a little hydrogen stick with me, so I alkalize the water. and
Mm-hmm.
I create a little bit of negative ORP and that kind of stuff in there. So that's where it starts for me, is with this, like this health is with water. Okay, you got to be drinking. I'm drinking it all day long, except when I'm eating. So half an hour before, during, and then my meal, and then while I'm eating, I don't drink any water, and then about an hour, half an hour at least to an hour afterwards, I don't drink any water because you're just diluting the digestive process. People, I ask some people all the time, so what do you drink with your meals? Well, a big tall glass of water. I said, there's your problem. Don't be drinking the water with your meal because you're diluting the digestive enzymes, the hydrochloric acid that's in your body that's going to break down your foods. It's the probiotics, the friendly bacteria, the prebiotics. These are all getting washed down, diluted if you're drinking a bunch of water, and in particular, alkaline ionized water. So stay away from that while you're eating. Otherwise, water should rule your day. Okay, so when you're eating, stay away from it. Otherwise, you know, kind of just make sure you're drinking water throughout the day, and don't eat too often. That's another thing. People are constantly putting food into their body. You should have meals, and then that's it. You should have another meal, and then that's it. Let your body absorb those nutrients. Okay, and and give yourself time. Give your body time. I take probiotics, and I take digestive enzymes all the time in my and before every single meal. I don't take them during the day, but I take them with each meal because you need those digestive enzymes to break down your foods,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a carbohydrate, whether it's a oil, a fat. Okay, you need lipase. You need lactase. That's for dairy products. People become lactose intolerant. You need the lactase. Okay, you need that digestive enzyme. So
Yeah.
I have a full spectrum digestive enzyme blend that of all these different. There's like about 10, 12, 14 different digestive enzymes. Another one's glutase. Now we talk about being gluten intolerant, or
Mm-hmm.
you have celiac disease, really common in the U.S., unheard of in Europe, which is interesting. And the reason is this is just my opinion. I'm not alone in my opinion, but this is, Roundup. So
Uh-huh.
Roundup has gotten into our food, and it's caused your body to recognize glyphosate, which is basically Roundup, as
Hold on. You're talking about this fertilizers that are
yeah.
sold in the
Well,
store?
it's a weed killer. It's all
Okay.
over. It's prevalent, Roundup. This gets inside your body. Yeah. If you want to get into somebody who's done a lot of work on it, her name is Dr. Stephanie Seneff.
Uh-huh.
Seneff, Senneff, something like that. You look her up, and she looks like grandma who bakes cookies.
Mm-hmm.
She's a brilliant woman. She cannot believe the research she's done. So at any rate, if you take some glutase, you won't have gluten intolerance. Okay, you won't have to remove that from your food. Get your wheat from Europe, okay,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have that problem. They banned Roundup years ago, glyphosate.
Mm-hmm.
So they were smart to do it. They were really watching out for their crops and their food and all that. So at any rate, that's what I do. And then I take probiotics with my meal, and that helps break down your food and keep your digestive tract clean because digestive health is so important.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got diabetes, you got to make some fundamental changes to your diet. That's my opinion. You first of all, if you've got if you've got if you're eating a lot of processed foods, okay. Me personally, I eat a lot of raw fruits and vegetables. Okay, I pretty much a vegan, but I go into the supermarket and I shop in the produce section, and then I don't go very many other places in the
Yeah.
supermarket. I don't eat very much out of a box, a jar, or a can, and I've been doing that for 40 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're preparing your food for you, and I'll just let you know, this is my opinion. If you think you know what's in that food, that box, and that frozen pizza, or this can of soup, or this can of beef stew, you really don't know what's in there. They are putting a lot of stuff in our food that and preserving it. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse over the years. These chemical dyes, now they're finally getting those out of the foods. Red number 40, blue number 5. We don't even know what these are chemicals. We don't
Yeah,
even know what the
yeah,
yellow number 2. Okay. What is that? These are chemicals, you know,
exactly.
and they're going to make them put in things like for green, okay, you want a green food, use beta carotene. You want a red food, you use lycopene that comes from tomatoes. And
Mm,
so they're making them color their foods instead of, putting in any kind of like one of the worst things would be Superman ice cream. So Superman ice cream is that blue color, and that's that red dye. I mean blue dye number 5. Yeah, they got so many of these things. These are the biggest ones they use, but they're in all our foods. You can take something called phycocyanin, okay, that comes from spirulina, and put it in there. It'll turn beautiful blue, and that's a very powerful antioxidant. It's good for your heart, okay? It's good for your immune system, phycocyanin. It comes from spirulina. So the two foods, I got my book right here, chlorella and spirulina, Kings of All
uh-huh.
Superfoods. And that's what I use for my protein. Those foods, these foods right here, that's one of my products. By the way, my little my line of products or my brand is called Dr. Bob's Naturals.
Yes.
So these two foods, these are the two most powerful foods in the world, chlorella and spirulina, and they're in one tablet. So that's how I do it. And there's 60% protein. Now, if you got
Wow.
diabetes, you're going to want to put some protein into your diet, and you're going to want to get some green foods into your diet. Okay. And you can do that through, getting yourself a nice big salad, a spinach salad. Use kale. Stay away from lettuce. Okay,
Mm,
it's
yeah.
boring. It's boring and it's nutritionally worthless. We
Mm-hmm.
want things like parsley, cilantro, kale, spinach. Okay, arugula. I'm like arugula fanatic. I love arugula. And so and then another one, spirulina and chlorella, and talk about beta carotene and chlorophyll. See, chlorophyll is our most important nutrient, okay? And that is going to help bring down that A1C, that blood
Mm-hmm.
sugar level. And you can monitor it. I love testing. I love meaning any kind of monitor of my body, any kind of testing of my body. I love
Mm-hmm.
this kind of stuff because um, it just you kind of see where you are. My bone tests, I get those like once a year. I want to see if that like I'm at 2.1. That's pretty good. I'm 68 years old, by the way. I got a lot of energy. I feel great. I'm clear thinking. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so the people, if your audience, you need to do a lot of things. Make some simple changes. Okay. Add this to your diet, the spirulina and chlorella. Stop eating so much processed foods. Stay away from sugar. That's going back to the processed food. They put sugar in everything. You've
Yes.
got to stop with the sugar. I literally, there's sugar naturally out there in foods enough. Like I eat a banana. There's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
sugar in there.
Yeah.
But that's natural fructose. Okay. That's natural for the body. Um, and again, I haven't eaten. So I'm going to eat for lunch because I like to keep it light. So I'm going to have some spirulina and chlorella.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then I'm going to have a banana. I'm crazy about bananas. And I'm going to have some blueberries. I'm going to have some cherries because they're in season. I'm going to
Yes.
have a mango. I love mango. It's my favorite fruit of all time. And these are in season now. I like the yellow ones. That's just me. But I'm going to have that. If I'm still a little hungry, I'll have an avocado. Avocado is a lot of fat, so I
Yeah.
highly recommend people go out there and get some avocados, get them into your diet, and you'll get a lot of healthy fat. Okay, there. Another thing to stay away from. I don't want to forget this one. We're gonna People love this, but fried foods. Fried foods are poison, and everybody loves them. And I've traveled all over the world. I have lived in a lot of different countries. I lived in India. I lived in Taiwan. I have lived in Europe. I lived in Paris for a while. This is a long time ago. I lived in New York for 10 years. And people love fried foods. They love it. I lived in Israel many years back in the 70s. People love that taste of fried, like falafel and French fries. And I never and stay away from fast food. Stop eating that stuff because
Yeah.
again, you don't know what's in that burger. If you want to have a burger, I'm going to encourage you, go out and buy the meat, make the patty and make it yourself and don't fry it. If you can bake it. Even a grill is healthier than
Mm-hmm.
frying it. Stay away from the
Mm-hmm.
fried foods.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another one. Stay away from the processed foods. Okay. And I always tell people all the time, know the source of your food. Know where that
Yeah.
food's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Know, hey, I've got spirulina and chlorella. Hey, I've got a banana. I got a bunch of bananas back here. I got a banana. You know that's a banana. You know they didn't, put that in a package. Nobody did that. God grew an apple. Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
God, just remember, God grew an apple. We made a frying pan. Okay. So you got to burn. Now, what do you want? What do you want to eat? Do you want to eat an apple pie or a raw apple? Well, you want an apple pie. It tastes so much better, right? But you got to limit those things. And so eat more apples, eat more bananas, eat more mangoes, eat more greens, and put that in your diet, and you'll see that blood sugar and that A1C, keep monitoring that. You'll see it coming down. A friend of mine I grew up with in high school, I ran track and cross country. He was a great track hurdler. Did the hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up being, he's passed away now. So I mean, we were at 68. He passed away 3 or 4 years ago, and he had lost both his legs to diabetes. This is like so unnecessary. You get these diabetic ulcers in your lower leg. That's from extreme amounts of processed foods, fast foods, fried foods. Okay, these are the things. Get them out of your diet and make those your special little foods. Like, okay, I'm going to eat some ice cream. Okay, I'm gonna have some fried. Make that your one little treat. That you have once in a while, rather than this everyday thing. You're always
That's right.
eating fried foods. You're
Yeah.
always eating
Yeah.
fast foods. You're always going to McDonald's and Burger King and these places. Just stay away from it because I'll say it again. You don't know what's in that burger that comes from McDonald's. You think it's supposed to be a burger of meat. It's so far out of control. They're selling billions and billions of meals out there, right? Of all this. You know where all that food really is coming from? You don't. You've got to know the source of your food. And so make these changes. Now I will say, by the way, when you got diabetes, watch the fruit in the beginning, okay? This will help regulate it. The
Mm-hmm.
protein, 60% protein, spirulina and chlorella. These are my two favorite foods in the world. They're not they're not culinary delicacies, okay? They don't
Yeah.
taste great, but they are the healthiest foods in the world, the most
Uh-huh.
nutritionally dense foods in the world, and they have the broadest array of nutrients. And they're the only foods you could live on exclusively and get all your nutrients. So if they're what I call the ultimate survival foods. You got to be down
Yeah.
in a bunker because
Mm-hmm.
World War III is coming, and you want these with you. Okay, yeah, right, right. These are the two foods you want to take down there and have them because you're going to stay healthy with these two foods. So,
Yeah.
but as a diabetic or you're challenged with these blood sugar, watch your fruit. So there's a lot of it's blueberries, all the things I mentioned, the banana, there's a lot of sugar in there. So moderate that. Get your green foods. There's a lot of chlorophyll in here.
Mm-hmm.
And get your green foods. I told you before, the spinach and the arugula and the kale, and stay away from the lettuce just because it's not bad for you, but it's just boring. You're not going to
The
get any
filler.
nutrients.
It's a filler. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's what you go to the restaurant and they give you a lettuce salad, right? And then they give you some goop you call dressing to put on
Oh,
it, and you don't know where that came from, and that's your salad. So I make my own salads. I have a salad for dinner almost every single night. I don't want to forget to tell people you got to exercise. If
oh
you want to
yeah.
be healthy, you got to exercise. I love exercising. I have like a big gym in my basement. I don't go to the gym. I have a gym, and I invested in it. But get out and walk.
Mm-hmm.
20 minutes, 30 minutes a day. Get out and jog if you can jog. You want to be breathing if you can. Get out there. If you're overweight, stay away from these really bad processed foods. You gotta, if you really, really are overweight, you're really, really obese. You weren't born with some kind of gene that made you in obese. Okay. Um, we are what we eat. Actually, we are what we can assimilate. Okay. And so that means go back digestive enzymes. They got to break down those food. You are what you can assimilate. You got to bring that into the body. You got to bring those nutrients into the body. Because if you go to the fast food place and you get your chicken, you get your beef, you got your, well, your burritos or whatever you got, I mean, if you don't have digestive enzymes, that's just going to pass through your body. It fills up your tummy, but it doesn't really give you these incredible nutrients your body is required for. And
Mm-hmm.
go back to your cells. Cellular health equals human health. Okay, that if your
Yes.
cells are not healthy, you're going to have some kind of a disease. It'll be high blood pressure, it'll be diabetes, it'll be cancer, it'll be something, because your cells are not healthy at that fundamental level, and you always got to feed those. So if you're obese, lose some weight, make sure you get out and exercise. I exercise like 5 days a week. I love to exercise, and it just keeps you going. You really gotta, your blood circulating through your body, your heart is pumping. I mean, the number one killer in the world, without any doubt, number one killer is heart attack. Okay.
Yes.
And I know somebody that's with family member who just had a massive heart attack, and she was lucky. She was in the right place at the right time. Got a trip to the hospital from somebody. Got it taken in a car. Got there. They moved her to another hospital. She's doing great. Okay, it
Mm-hmm.
was close, but that's your heart. But again, if you're eating these kinds of foods, and by the way, if you want to eat less meat, less dairy, less fish, these kinds of food, if you want to, this will give you enough protein. You take a small handful, and see, here are the tablets. There's a good example of one of the tablets right there. So that's a 250 milligram tablet. You just take those, pop those down. And I take that with every single meal that I have, because that way I'm getting my protein, I'm getting all my nutrients. Is a lot of fiber in the chlorella, almost none in the spirulina.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a huge amount, there's 20% fiber in the chlorella. There's no fiber in the spirulina, but spirulina, really high energy. You okay? So you take that about a half an hour before you work out, or you go walk, or you get on the treadmill, or you're just lifting weights or whatever you're doing, getting that circulation going in your body. Then you do the spirulina, you're going to have a lot of energy. That's a high energy food. I just did a video about that. I'm always doing videos. You can find me YouTube. It's Dr. Bob McCauley YouTube, and I do a ton of those. I'm on Instagram. Same thing, Dr. Bob McCauley. People call me Dr. Bob. That doctor part's not important. It's that I just like Dr. Bob's nice. That's why Dr. Bob's fine. That's why it's
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Bob's Naturals. That's my little
Yeah,
logo.
yeah, yeah.
And but it's naturals. It's everything I do. All I do, and I want your audience to listen to this. All I do is follow nature. I just follow nature and say, well, you know what? How are the birds doing? How are the deer doing? How are the squirrels doing? I mean, they don't have any of these chronic diseases like we do. So I'm always trying to follow what is nature, what is in nature. Well, nature is, apples and pears and fruits and all these green foods that we talked about. Avocado. Now, avocado is going to help, balance that A1C, okay,
Yeah,
that we're always
yeah.
worried about. That's your blood sugar level, okay? And you can control this. There's a lot of other diseases that are much more serious to control than diabetes. If you really look at your diet, get sufficient amount of protein, get your chlorophyll, our most important nutrient, okay? The chlorophyll cell, which you find in plants, in a human blood cell, they are absolutely identical to one another in every way. Okay, human red blood cell and chlorophyll, except in chlorophyll, you have magnesium. In the red blood cell, we have iron. Other than that, they're identical. And I sell minerals, for instance. that are, here's iodine, okay, that are liquid angstrom. So the angstrom, very small, and it goes right into your body. You take like a little teaspoon or a capful, and it
Mm-hmm.
goes in, and you hold it under your tongue, goes right into your body through your sublingual duct under your tongue, okay?
Yeah.
That's the best way to get minerals into your body. I one thing I would say, go back to the heart disease, magnesium. I start my day, say, I took some magnesium this morning. That's not a food, that's a
Mm-hmm.
mineral. So there's a big
Yes.
difference. There's lots of food. Fasting is great, but you don't want to eat during it. But there's lots of nutrients you can take, like minerals. This is iodine,
Mm-hmm.
very super important for your thyroid. Okay, that's your metabolism. But more important is magnesium for your heart. You really got to get that magnesium. If you ever have a heart attack, the first thing they're going to, when you go to the hospital, first thing they're going to do is put you on a magnesium drip. Okay, they want that magnesium in there's so many people have had heart attacks because they have no magnesium in their body. And, they could be stockbrokers, they could be CEOs, they go out on their lunch hour to play, handball or racquetball or whatever, and they have a heart attack. Well, because they don't have any magnesium, because they lived on a junk diet and they never supplemented themselves with the minerals and the things that we need. So when you're fasting, I highly recommend you stay what we call get electrolyte minerals, right? That's magnesium, that's calcium, that's potassium, that's your brain, okay? And sodium, okay? People say that's salt. There's really good salt. Like I have salt every single day, like I do Himalayan red salt or pink salt, they call it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Or there's really good sea salt if you can find the really good stuff. But you want to stay away from commercial salt. I don't like any kind of anti-caking agent, all that. All that's a bunch of crap. So I stay away from, Morton salt and all that kind of stuff. I get the real thing. But sodium's really super important. I mean, if you didn't have any sodium in your body, you would just turn into a jellyfish. You couldn't move. So you got to
Mm-hmm.
have sodium. Celery. I love the juice, celery, carrots, beets. I do it all the time. Ginger, that's a powerful food.
Mm-hmm.
Ginger, turmeric, that's a powerful food. And I do that and I drink it right down. But the celery's got lots of sodium in it. Okay, so that's a good the place to get natural, organic celery. So if you're overweight, you're obese, lose some weight and do it through these fresh fruits and vegetables. That's the best thing I can tell your audience. Just become, you know what I say, become a health warrior, become a
Yeah.
warrior for health. Get out there every day and be want to be healthier because as we both know, life is short. So you don't want to spend it in the hospital. You don't want to be going to see doctors. You want to be get as much accomplished as you can. And people, by the way, they don't want to live to be 100. I don't want to be that old. It's not the 100 years old. You don't want to be decrepit. You don't want to be, I can't do anything anymore. Everybody's got to take care of me. And you got to remember my personal opinion, of course, my most important thing is what's the most important thing in life is your relationship with God. Okay, you got to have a good relationship with God. You're going to be meeting God at some point, whether you like it or not. And then you got to take care of your health because you say, well, that's so. What about my family? Well, how can you take care of your family if you're in the hospital? If you're a burden, if you are a liability, you gotta, they always say if the plane's going down, put the mask on, okay, and then you can help the kids. Then you can help grandma next to you. But if you don't put it on, you start taking care of the mask for the kid or for grandma. I mean, now, and you can't get it on, and they're not doing it right. Now you're both going to pass out. So take care of yourself, take care of your health. Don't become a burden to your family. Be an asset. They need you. Your family needs you
Yes.
to take care of them. And, like I said, if you have severe diabetes, that's unacceptable. You got to get rid of that. You have to change your diet. I'll say it again. No more fast foods. No more processed foods. Keep those for like, okay, once a month we'll go and have some fast food. That's your one little, your little treat or whatever you want to call it. Fried food, same thing. Everyone loves fried foods. I mean, it's just the feeling of it. the feeling of abundance.
Uh, we can go on this conversation for a longest while, but
I know.
unfortunately, we have to stop. We
Okay.
are already kind of exceeded the time that we were planning on using today, but I wanted to tell everyone, you see how passionate Bob is about all this. So I would strongly recommend you to actually go on his YouTube channel, listen to his videos, uh, go to his website, check his, all the links that we'll provide you, and maybe get in touch with him. Do you have on your website the way to schedule a call with
Yeah,
you?
yeah, we
Something?
do. I have my phone number. My website is drbobmccauley.com, just like
Mm,
it's on drbobmccauley.com. My YouTube channel is YouTube at Dr. Bob McCauley.
yes.
And then my Instagram, and then I got a phone number. My email is watershed@wellness@gmail.com, Watershed Wellness, because I
Mm,
own a place called the Watershed Wellness Center. It started out Watershed, and then I later on, when I got into all this stuff, I added Wellness Center because
yes.
I wanted people to know I don't just do water, I do health. Okay, so
Yes.
I've expanded. And yeah, get in touch with me. And I've got a big email list, and call over to our office or send me an email. We'll put you on the email list, and you can kind of see all the things that I'm doing and all the products I got. The Spraline, I'm the biggest import. This is from Taiwan, by the way.
Hmm.
This is not China. And the problem with China is, believe me, I'm the number one expert for. I've been to so many chlorella plants and Spraline. I've been them all over the world: India, China, Taiwan. Taiwan's the best.
Mm.
And but no, once again, the problem with China is they'll give you a good sample, and then when you get the product, it's not really so good. So I
Uh-huh.
just got to tell you, stay
Okay.
away from that. But I really got to thank you for having me today. I
Yes.
really got to thank you for having me on your podcast. And I just got to tell people about health and what they can do about diabetes. I hope you listened to what I'm telling you there. You could play this a few times and share it with your friends. Send the podcast to people. Say, I really got something out of this. And what you're always watching that A1C. So you know, and you'll see it. You listen to me, you're going to see that comes down. Mine's like way below 100. So because I stay away from sugar completely. You get it a lot of natural sugar from all sorts of places. So you don't have to worry about that. But I got to tell you, Raina, one other thing I want to say before I go. I love your accent.
Oh, thank
You
you.
got this Russian accent. It's like every movie I've seen with the Russians in it. You get the perfect Russian, and Russian people are great people. We always hear, we always had the Cold War and everything when I was growing up and everything. But the Russian people are great. You got the cutest accent. I really love it. And
Thank
thanks for doing this for people. I
thank
mean,
you.
thanks for doing this, telling them here you can be healthy. You want to go get your pills, take your pills. But if you want to just make some basic changes to your health, your lifestyle, your diet, you get out there and exercise a little bit every day, you're going to feel great.
Absolutely.
So
Well,
I'll come back another time and we'll talk again.
yes. Again, everybody, thank you for listening to us. Please, if you like this episode, share it with people who may use it because information that we are sharing here on our YouTube channel is very, I think, very useful. And I'm not saying don't go to a doctor, but it's always great to know that there are some extra steps that you could add to your treatment plan that may help you to expedite your journey to healthier you. And once you are there, there are plenty of tools that you could use already without pharmaceutical, but with using the natural ways that are available to us when we can use it and when they will help us. So with that, I would like to thank everybody for being here. Thank you, Bob, for your input and your stories. And I will talk to everyone next week. Have a great day.